The 10,002nd meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is threats to international peace and security. The agenda is adopted. I would like to warmly welcome distinguished ministers and other high-level representatives present in the Security Council chamber. Your presence today underscores the importance of the subject matter under discussion. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of Estonia, Germany, Latvia, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Poland, Romania, Sweden, and Ukraine to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provision Rules of Procedure, I invite Mr. Miroslav Jenča, Assistant Secretary General for Europe, Central Asia, and Americas, Departments of Political and Peacebuilding Affairs and Peace Operations, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provision Rules of Procedure, I also invite Her Excellency Ms. Kaja Kallas, High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I now give the floor to Mr. Miroslav Jenča.
Mr. President, in a letter dated 20 September 2025, addressed to the President of the Security Council, the permanent representative of Estonia to the United Nations informed that on 19 September, 3 Russian MiG-31 fighters entered up to 10 kilometers inside Estonia's airspace for 12 minutes in violation of Estonian airspace. The United Nations is not in a position to confirm any of the claims made regarding the incident and does not have any further details of the events. This briefing is therefore solely based on information available from public sources. According to the Estonian Ministry of Defense, the incursion took place between 9:58 a.m. and 10:11 a.m. in the area of Vaindloo, a small island located in the Gulf of Finland in the Baltic Sea. According to the ministry, the jets entered the Estonian airspace without permission and had their transponders switched off and did not have flight plans, potentially endangering other aircraft. According to Estonian and Italian officials, Italian F-35 fighters attached to NATO's air defense support mission in the Baltic states were reportedly activated to intercept the Russian jets and warn them off. Sweden, as part of its national response and in coordination with NATO, along with Finland, also reportedly scrambled a rapid reaction aircraft. Estonia stated that this latest incident follows 4 violations of its airspace by Russia this year, and it has requested consultations with NATO allies under Article 4 of the Washington Treaty. The meeting of the NATO North Atlantic Council has been reportedly scheduled to take place tomorrow, 23 September. On 20 September, Russia's defense ministry stated that its fighter jets made a scheduled flight from Karelia on the border with Finland to an airfield in the Kaliningrad region in strict accordance with international airspace rules, without deviating from the agreed flight path and without violating Estonian airspace. According to the Russian Federation, the flight path was over neutral waters of the Baltic Sea, more than 3 kilometers from the island of Vindlo. Mr. President, this latest development follows reported violations by Russian drones of Polish and Romanian airspace. On 12 September, this council convened to discuss the incursion of 19 Russian drones into Poland between 9 and 10 September. On 13 September, according to Romania's Ministry of Defense, a Russian drone was detected in Romanian airspace as 2 Romanian F-16 jets were monitoring the country's border with Ukraine after Russian air attacks on Ukraine. The ministry said that the drone did not fly over populated areas or pose imminent danger. This series of recent incidents further underscored the already high tensions that endanger European security as the war continues to rage in Ukraine. Violations of sovereign countries' airspace are unacceptable. We again urge all concerned to act responsibly, to use all available channels, and to take immediate steps to de-escalate tensions and prevent further risks to regional security. The world simply cannot afford such danger to spiral out of control and for the devastating war in Ukraine to further escalate and expand. Mr. President, over the weekend in Ukraine, Russian drones and missiles continue to hit several regions, killing at least 3 people, injuring dozens more, and damaging civilian infrastructure and residential buildings. Several civilian casualties were reported across the country. According to the Ukrainian authorities, in the central city of Dnipro, a missile with the reported cluster munition hit a residential apartment building, killing at least 1 person and injuring at least 30 others. Local officials reported that 2 people were also killed in the Chernihiv region in the north and the Khmelnytsky region in the west of the country. According to the Ukrainian authorities, over the past week, Russia launched more than 1,500 attack drones, 1,280 guided aerial bombs, and 50 missiles of various types. This represents a clear escalation of Russia's attacks against Ukrainian cities and towns. More casualties were also reported over the weekend in the Belgorod region of the Russian Federation, where, according to local officials, 2 civilians were reportedly killed and 4 injured as a result of Ukrainian shelling and drone attacks. The continuing trend of intensifying widespread attacks once again underscores the need to build on recent initiatives for diplomatic efforts towards peace before the situation reaches even more dangerous levels. We reiterate our call for a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire to pave the way for a just, lasting, and comprehensive peace in Ukraine in line with the UN Charter, international law, and relevant UN resolutions. The United Nations remains ready to support all meaningful efforts to this end. I thank you.
I thank Mr. Yencha for his briefing. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Lars Roque Rasmussen, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Denmark.
First of all, I would like to thank Assistant Secretary General Jenka for his informative briefing. 10 days ago, in this chamber, Denmark's representative expressed our condemnation of the violations of Poland's airspace by Russian military drones. And within 4 days, another Russian military drone incursion took place, this time into Romanian airspace. Denmark condemns the violation of the territorial integrity of Romania. And today we meet again, yet again, to discuss a reckless and dangerous violation by Russia, with 3 fighter jets entering Estonia's airspace last Friday. For 12 minutes and penetrating 10 kilometers deep north of Tallinn, until escorted out of Estonian airspace by NATO jets. Let there be no doubt, I condemn this latest violation of Estonia's sovereignty and territorial integrity by Russia. Our support for Estonia remains steadfast. Our resolve to stand by our allies remains equally firm. Together with EU partners and NATO allies, we will continue to offer support to Estonia in protecting its borders. Mr. President, these are reckless and dangerous escalations and provocations by the Russian Federation. These are threats to intimidate countries to stop supporting Ukraine and to test our resolve. Russia clearly feels it can act with impunity in Ukraine, the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, the whole of Eastern Europe. Denmark and its allies will not be provoked by Russia. On the contrary, it only strengthens our resolve and further intensifying our long-standing support to Ukraine, whatever threats are made. We have seen this playbook before. The invasion of Georgia, the annexation of Crimea, the invasion of the Donbas, the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Russia's neighbors, not unreasonably, fear there could be the next. Denmark stands fully behind Estonia's territorial integrity. The Russian provocations must end immediately. Therefore, we tell the Russian Federation today, step back, take another path. We will not allow the unraveling of the European security architecture. We will not allow Russia to project chaos and uncertainty wherever it wants. And more broadly, these recent air incursions undermine the fundamental pillars of international law that we all benefit from. Mr. President, when the UN was created 80 years ago, the aim was to stop larger states from bullying and terrorizing smaller states, to create an order in which all countries are sovereign, where their territorial integrity is respected. Denmark remains fully committed to these principles. I thank you.
His Excellency Mr. Rasmussen for the statement. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Georgios Gerapatritis, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Hellenic Republic.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would like to thank the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Korea for convening the important emergency meeting. I would like also to thank Assistant Secretary General Jenka for his insightful briefing, and I welcome the participation of fellow foreign ministers and deputy foreign ministers, as well as of the High Representative of the European Union and Vice President Ms. Kallas in this meeting. Dear colleagues, as this organization celebrates the 80th year since its establishment, international order, peace and security are gravely challenged around the globe. It is therefore our urgent and imperative duty to heighten our vigilance and intensify our efforts to meet and contain these challenges, protect international peace and security, and avoid escalations. Only in this way we will be fulfilling the core task of the Security Council. In the course of these last 2 weeks, NATO and EU's airspace has been violated 3 times, as Russian aerial means entered, contrary to international law, the territory of Poland, Romania and Estonia. The latest incident, involving the incursion of Estonian airspace by 3 armed Russian fire jets, cannot be viewed in isolation. Reckless acts of this kind are not new, but their successive recurrence indicates they are not mere coincidences. As the saying goes, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. Greece unequivocally condemns the violation of Estonia's, and for that matter, any member state's airspace. We stand in full solidarity with Estonia, a friendly country and an EU and NATO ally. Any violation of state borders, be it air, sea, or land borders, constitutes a clear and blatant breach of international law and the UN Charter, and is unacceptable, particularly coming from a permanent member of the Security Council. We call on Russia to cease these unlawful acts immediately and respect its obligations under international law. Colleagues, it is evident that this new escalation is a direct result of Russia's war in Ukraine. Greece has welcomed President Trump's initiative for meeting President Putin in Alaska in August, as well as any initiative that could result in the termination of the war. Nevertheless, these violations as acts of aggression contradict the spirit of the Anchorage meeting. Lastly, dear colleagues, we're now witnessing the destabilizing effects of the war and its wider implications for the security of Eastern Europe and of the wider region. This is why, once again, we call on Russia to stop its armed aggression. A comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in Ukraine, based on the principles of sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of states, must remain our foremost goal. A peace safeguarded by credible and robust security guarantees, which will effectively deter any recurrence of armed aggression, that precludes further escalation, and that is in line with international law, the UN Charter, the General Assembly resolutions, and the Helsinki Final Act. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Gerard Patritis for the statement. And I give the floor to Her Excellency Mr. Yvette Cooper, MP, Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the Assistant Secretary-General for that briefing. For 3.5 years, the world has witnessed a permanent member of this Council engaged in the full-scale and unprovoked invasion of another state, a violation of its most basic obligations under the UN Charter. As President Trump and President Zelensky have worked for peace, the Russian Federation has starkly escalated its attacks. Attacks on the Council of Ministers, on the British Council building, and repeated attacks on residential flats and homes as children sleep in their beds. And we meet today now at the request of Estonian allies because Russia's recklessness is escalating. In the last 2 weeks alone, over 20 Russian drones in Polish airspace, a drone through Romanian territory, and now 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets with their transponders turned off, violating Estonian airspace for 12 minutes. At best, these latest acts are dangerous and reckless. At worst, they are a deliberate attempt to undermine the territorial integrity of sovereign nations and European security. They risk miscalculation. They open the door to direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. NATO's combined strength is unparalleled, and its determination to defend peace and security in Europe is unshakable. Of this, Russia must be in no doubt. And I commend the resolute and firm response of Estonia, Poland, and Romania, and all NATO allies. I welcome the launch of Eastern Sentry on 12th of September to ensure the safety and security of the Alliance's eastern border, and I'm proud that UK aircraft are taking part. And to those nations and to all NATO allies, I say, the United Kingdom stands in full solidarity with you at this time and always. And to President Putin, I say, your reckless actions risk a direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. Our alliance is defensive, but be under no illusion. We stand ready to take all steps necessary to defend NATO's skies and NATO's territory. We are vigilant and we are resolute. And if we need to confront planes that are operating in NATO airspace without permission, then we will do so. The United Kingdom stands by our friends. We are unwavering in our support for the principles of the UN Charter, for our NATO allies, and for Ukraine. And we are committed to increasing the pressure on Russia until it ends its illegal war against Ukraine, ceases its reckless acts, and respects the sovereignty of other states. Russia's imperialist warmongering is a threat to international peace and security. It is a threat to the values and principles that underpin this organization that has done so much to support stability and prosperity these past 80 years. We must counter it for the sake of us all. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency Ms. Cooper for her statement. And I give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Emelita Gabric, Deputy Minister for Foreign and European Affairs of Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank the Assistant Secretary General, Mr. Miroslav Jenča, for your important contribution. Excellencies, we are meeting here for the second time in just 10 days due to the reckless behavior of the Russian Federation that poses a threat to international security. 10 days ago, we discussed a drone incursion into Polish airspace, an incident involving more than 20 drones, making a significant escalation in scale and intensity. Today, we are addressing a new provocation, Russian fighter jets' incursion into Estonian airspace, an incident that was not merely momentary, but deliberate and dangerous. Slovenia supported the call for this meeting, and we stand firmly and without reserve with Estonia, its security, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Excellencies, let me say this in no uncertain terms. We condemn this escalation. At a time when tensions are already dangerously high, this is not the moment for military provocation. This is a high time for dialogue, a high time for diplomacy. When we previously discussed the drone incursion into Poland, our ambassador spoke of the growing unease with which we are witnessing such behavior across Europe. Let us be honest with ourselves around this very table of the Security Council. These actions do not occur in a vacuum. They are unfolding as we are well in the 4th year of Russia's illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. These deliberate provocations are symptomatic of the time we live in, a time in which violations of international law are tolerated to an extent we have not seen in modern history. Slovenia says a clear and principled no to such behavior, wherever it may occur and whoever may be the perpetrator. If we can clearly say no to Israeli atrocities committed in Gaza, to terrorist violence, we must not shy away from condemning Russian aggression against Ukraine. Excellencies, let us also be clear on another matter. Europe wants peace. Europe wants a ceasefire, and we want to see the beginning of serious and meaningful peace negotiations between Ukraine and the Russian Federation as soon as possible. Despite the best efforts by President Trump in Alaska, we still await a meaningful gesture from Russia, a sincere willingness to come to the negotiating table. And while we wait, Russia continues its escalatory behavior, intensifying attacks on Ukrainian cities and endangering and intimidating civilians, both in Ukraine and in its neighboring countries. We hope the time is near when this Council will finally begin a principled and honest discussion about the war in Ukraine and decide to take action. Until then, and allow me to repeat this, Slovenia will stand firmly with Estonia, with Ukraine, and with any other member of this organization that needs to be protected from unlawful, charter-violating actions by those who believe that might makes right. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank Her Excellency Ms. Gabric for her statement. And I give the floor to the representative of France.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to begin by thanking Assistant Secretary General Mr. Miroslav Jenča for his statement, and I would like to welcome the ministers present here, Foreign Affairs Minister of Estonia and from the other representatives from the European Union, and Madam Kallas. As we know, on the morning of 19th of September, Russia violated Estonian airspace with 3 fighter jets, which remained there for nearly 12 minutes. These elements lead us to consider that this is an intentional violation. This is the 3rd time in 10 days that Russia has violated the airspace of the European Union and NATO. This latest incursion leaves no room for doubt. Russia is choosing escalation and provocation. Mr. President, this Council had already met exactly 10 days ago to discuss the unacceptable intrusion of around 20 Russian drones into Poland in the context of a massive aerial attack against Ukraine. This new violation, this time carried out in broad daylight and by no fewer than 3 fighter jets, not drones, is unprecedented in over 20 years. It confirms the continuation and accumulation of Russia's provocative actions. Mr. President, France condemns in the strongest terms this dangerous and irresponsible incursion, which constitutes a blatant violation of international law. And we stand firmly alongside Estonia, to whom we express our friendship and our full and unwavering solidarity. France directly contributes to Estonia's security. We participate in the strengthening of our security posture on Europe's eastern flank, alongside our allies in the European Union and NATO. Mr. President, we must not forget that at the same time, Russia continues its war of aggression against Ukraine. Just hours after this incursion, it once again carried out massive strikes against Ukraine using 40 missiles and over 550 drones. Russia must understand that these violations of NATO airspace in no way undermine our determination to implement strong, robust, and credible security guarantees in favor of Ukraine. Mr. President, Ukraine courageously accepted 6 months ago now the principle of an unconditional ceasefire. It has demonstrated its willingness to negotiate. President Volodymyr Zelensky has, for the past 4 months, expressed his readiness for direct negotiations with President Vladimir Putin. Yet, as world leaders gather here in New York to mark the 80th anniversary of the